How is everybody doing? Today is day 2 of the Crack Like content. Hope you are all well. Let me know where you are watching from. I'm just going to check the group to make sure the video is coming in. Don't ask why I'm singing. It makes no sense. Okay. So that looks good. So as you guys are jumping on, I am just gonna kind of like recap from yesterday, and thank you for the people who put their homework down inside the group. I was able to, by sharing your homework or your assignment within the group, I was able to like give you some feedback as to if you needed to tighten it up, if maybe you had a couple of categories or pillars that really were overlapping each other, because today we're really going to dive a little bit deeper into expanding those categories. Essentially, we're going to create some subcategories that you can speak under, talk about. And hello, Nicole. Thank you for joining. And let's see who else is here. Talene. Yay, Talene. I'm proud of you for doing your homework, because I know it sounded like you were a little nervous about doing it. Stepping out there. Hello, Terri. It's nice to see you as well. You guys are great. So we're going to be, just to kind of like recap what we did yesterday, we really talked about like, what are my areas that I should be speaking on? And the reason why I wanted you to define them, to share them like within the group, but is also so that you see them. I want you to have these in front of you. That way you're like, these are the areas that I speak on. These are the areas that I'm going to be known to be speaking in. Let me just shut my phone off so that doesn't happen again. And we're going to expand on those. And trust me, like when we're done like tomorrow, you are just like, I don't ever want to hear from you guys, I don't know what to write about. You are going to know what to write about. So today we're really going to be focused a little bit more on you, and also on your audience, your followers, the people that you're trying to, like attract, because that's why we're writing content. Content is for two different reasons. It's to draw the people in that we would work best with, and push away the people who we don't want to work with, that wouldn't be perfect for our offer. But those people, they do get to know you. They're great at referring others to you. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. If you're like, yeah, I get that, and let's do the quiz again. I got to ask this quiz again, because I'm really trying to drive this message home. And that is, content is what kind of an activity? Share with me down below. Let me know what that is. Hi, Sandy. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. We had a speaking event. Sandy had a virtual speaking event yesterday. And like I had said in one of my live streams a couple of weeks ago, that things are happening very fast. You'll get an offer, an inquiry about speaking, and there's not a whole lot of time. It's, okay, great. You said yes. Can we do this like in the next few days? And there they are, like arranging everything. Yes, Nicole. Content is a money-making activity. Yes, Terri. Terri just recently watched the yesterday's live, and there's Celine with her little money emojis. We got to put that up there. I like that. Okay, so let's take your categories even deeper. So take your categories or your pillars, and what subcategories do you want to be talking about that would fall under those pillars, those main topics that you speak on? And also think of it as, what does my audience, my buyers, my future clients, what do they need to know about me? What do they need to learn about me? So let's just take like the Apple store again. Apple's got laptops, tablets, phones. Once upon a time, they had software in the store, but they also have a lot of accessories. So each of those has different education with each of those. And each of those, like, it's attracting a different clientele. I actually have the iPad Pro, which is really, it's like practically replacing my laptop. The only thing I can't do with my laptop is one, you can't do like these live streams as effectively. I mean, I could, but I use, as most of you know, because I've talked about this before, I use Ecamm. Can't do that like on my laptop. So again, like I want to know, I want you to list down below one of your pillars that you speak on and give me a couple of subtitles. So in case you're just like, I still don't get it, Laurie-Ann, let me show you. So I wish like a whiteboard would work in here, but it doesn't. So hopefully this comes out looking straight and not backwards. So I just picked three: mindset, marketing, and sales. And I'm just looking at like the video over here. Oh, good. It's not backwards. And so if we come under mindset, so success psychology that I had shared yesterday. So what are some of the things that I can talk about? Journaling. I can bring in neuroscience 101 because I've shared with you guys, like I am just a neuroscience geek. I think our brains are so damn fascinating and interesting, and it doesn't matter how much technology advances, like our brains are still the same. And that's why as we learn more about our brains, we can understand why we do what we do. Believing and the evidence, daily routines. So these are all things that I can talk about that fall under the mindset category. Let's just kind of like switch over here to marketing. That's where I put the speaking, because speaking is an amazing form of marketing. Marketing yourself, like if you want to become or are a professional speaker, the more you speak, the more business you get. You know, like with my private clients who are using speaking as their best form of marketing, my goal for them and their goal is that every time they step off the live or virtual stage, it is that they get spin-off business. Whether that comes in the form of being referred to other places to speak, somebody else hires them to speak, and or people in the audience hire them for their services, sign up for their services, sign up for one of their programs or packages. So also in marketing is showing up, being consistent, you know, coming up with a plan and showing up consistently, showing up for yourself, showing up for your audience, showing up for your business. Not necessarily all in that order, but like all together. Is this making sense? Let me know, just as some of these start to, you know, like you get some ideas, share them down below. I want to know like what one of your main categories or pillars of speaking, pillars of content is going to be, and give me a couple of subcategories. Another form of marketing would be live stream, you know, and also the content that you're putting out. Hence, like, so I'm doing this crack like content. So this particular training would fall under my marketing category. And I did put live streaming here, but live streaming actually could be like a subcategory of speaking. Speaking tips, virtual speaking tips, you know, those can be like even more subcategories under here, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let me share with you the sales. So some of my subcategories under sales is qualifying leads, sales calls and how to get to a yes, how to structure your sales calls, how to feel comfortable on your sales calls, promoting yourself, what packages and offers do you have for people to buy, follow-up. Follow-up is such a big one. A lot of us feel, you know, like, so I could write an entire week on follow-up. And selling from Zoom, which is another form of selling from the virtual stage, selling from the stage, how to walk away with new client business. So share with me down below like what some of your your categories and subcategories are. Let me know if you have any questions. Type those down below. So what this ends up happening is that you can then call, I'm just going to, 1, 2. If I was on Zoom, we'd have a whiteboard because I can actually bring in my iPad. So I'm just labeling sales as number 3, pillar number 3. Because then how you go about scheduling out your content or planning it out is you can say on the first week of the month, we'll just go with May because May is right around the corner. I'm going to talk about pillar number 3, subcategory number 1. The week after that, I'm going to talk about pillar number 2 and subcategory number 2, or it can be number 3. You literally can just start writing these into your calendar. And then I might, like the third week after that, I might say, I'm going to talk about pillar number 1, and I'm going to talk about journaling, subcategory number 1. So think about it this way. So I'm talking about sales, and let's just use sales calls. I'm going to write a week's where that's all my content is going to be about, is about sales calls and getting to a yes. So part of what I might write about, and I'll do my live stream about that as well, is about getting people on the call. What are some of the components, the structure to a sales call? What questions do you need to ask, to get to determine whether or not this is the right person for you? How do you book those calls? What software is available? I could write an entire post about Acuity and Calendly and any, there's Book Like a Boss. There's lots of software that's out there to help you manage the booking so that you just get these bookings that show up on your calendar. And so I could write an entire week. Does that make sense? About I'm rattling off stuff about sales calls. How do you show up? What's your pre-sales call routine? Do you see how just by having, here's the category that I'm going to write under, here's the subcategory I'm going to write about this week, and now it's I'm almost niching down my content. And and then it just kind of opens up all right, here's the guidelines. Here's the container or the boundaries that I'm going to write in. Years ago, and most of you have probably heard me say this, that children, they've done studies on playgrounds, and playgrounds with and without a fence around it. Playgrounds that don't have a fence, the children actually have a tendency to stay very close to where all the equipment is, the slides and the swings and all the other fun stuff that's in there. But when there's a fence or a boundary, suddenly the small children know that they can play all the way to the edge, all the way, and so they're more spread out. And that's kind of exactly what's happening when you try to sit down to write your content. And you can write about everything because you've never defined it. You've never put boundaries around what you write about. Then you suddenly you only write about maybe 1 or 2 things. And then your audience doesn't get to know you. They don't get to know some interesting stuff. There's other stuff that that overlaps, that your specialty. Let's just take Talene, for example. With Mary Kay, she's skincare, she's color. So she's an expert on how to take care of your skin. What are some first steps in starting? What colors are best for you? What colors are best for you if you want to look 5 years younger? So she's got all of these different specialties, and these are all different areas that she can write about, do videos on. Not to mention the inspiration stuff that she's going into. Nicole, you shared with me what you're doing, and with the TV and becoming an expert and travel. Terri, I know that a lot of what you do, you just recently did like a stress reduction workshop, virtually, of course. And so like Terri could write about stress while being at home with family, stress, like the new stuff, like stress relievers for your new office, which is probably like the kitchen or dining room table. So you see, like, by putting these boundaries around not just what you can write about, you're going to feel freer to come up with great ideas. And then with each week, pillar 1, category 1, subcategory number 2, 3, 4, whatever. Just by picking, here's what I'm going to write about that week. Then you get to just show up, and that's what I'm writing about. I did a live a while ago. It's called the dual personality. How to have that dual personality work for you. I think it was sometime in January. And I talk about like having that split personality of half of you is the CEO and the other half is the employee. It's the CEO that's deciding category 1, subcategory number 3. And so the CEO makes that decision, tells the employee, here's what I want you to write about. I want you to write about sales calls. And then the sales, so as the employee, I already know what the decision is. So this eliminates decision fatigue, trying to figure out, what should I be writing about this week? I'm not sure what to write about. I'm not sure what my audience wants to hear. Now it's like, I'm going to write about sales calls. That's on my list. That's on the agenda. That's what I write about this week. And you saw me just spew out a bunch of ideas on sales calls. And that was all just like on the spot. All on the spot. Let's see what Tolene had to say. Okay, so there's subcategories under the pillars. Yes, absolutely. And great analogies with the fence. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, I'm glad this is all helping. I'm glad this is all like, yes, like sinking in. So let me know, like, let's hear some subcategories, you guys. Because by each of you like sharing 1 or 2 of your subcategories, it's not like, don't be afraid. Like I'm so interested to hear what you have. I realize I just gave you a couple, Tolene. And Terri and Nicole, but let's hear some more. Share with me like what one of your pillars was and a subcategory. And so you can see like how just we're taking it from step 1, being very broad, to let's define it a little more. What are some themes that are going to go underneath each of those categories, each of those pillars? I keep going back and forth between pillars and categories, and it's completely up to you, whatever you would like to call it. But just think of it as like, this is the supporting information so that my clients need to know before they feel comfortable buying. This is the information that they need to know to build that know, like, and trust factor. So while you guys are like thinking more about this or typing this down, or it's going to be part of the today's assignment that you can throw down into the as a post into the Facebook group. But let's talk about the different types of content you should be sharing. So I've given you some, like we've got the pillars, we've got the categories, we've got the subcategories. You are never going to run out of things to write about. Even if you just had, like I just like this little sheet just had 3. If I just had 5 subcategories under each of these, that's 15 weeks of content. 15 weeks of planning content. Now, if you did 4 or 5 categories and each had 5, you're looking at 25 weeks of content that you can just cycle right through. So that's why I'm saying, like, once you understand the system, this just like, wow, like you're never going to be at a loss of what to write about. Now, the beauty of, being a small business person is that even if you had planned something out, like let's just say you planned ahead of time, like a month or 2 ahead of time for your content, and like this whole pandemic happened, it's really easy for you to go in, I know it is, because I've seen my clients do this, to go in there into their content, make some minor edits to it about the pandemic, about being at home. Does that make sense? It's so easy to edit. So let me share what you guys are sharing here. Let's see, Nicole's isn't coming up on the screen, but Nicole says pillar is mindset. So subcategory, paradigm shift, law of vibration, energy, visualization, goals, dreams, bonus. I love that. The only reason why I think, Nicole, yours isn't coming up is that eCam needs to have permission. Let's see, Sandy says, pillar is nourishing your spirit, and subcategory is forgiveness as a practice. Ooh, that is so good. Sophia, she is a doTERRA rep, and she says, in my education group, posting about why essential oils. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I think what it is that, let's see, I'm not keeping up quick enough. Talene says, skincare. Simple strategies for the low-key woman, strategies for the woman concerned about aging, tools. Oh, I didn't even think of tools for you. Tools for applying product for maximum efficiency, etc. That's just a few under skincare, not even cosmetics. I know. Let's see. Sophia said there are 3 reasons. Oh, to using essential oils. Terri says, one of my pillars is wellness, subcategory, mindful breathing, gratitude journals, getting out in nature. Ooh, I love those. So 3 different weeks and subcategories in each. So what you're doing is you're picking one of your pillars, one of your main categories, and then one of the subcategories that falls under that. And that you would just write a week's worth of content about that. Let me know if that makes sense, Sophia. Talene says, awesome. What are you awesoming about? All right. Just let me take a sip. Feel like I'm doing all the talking, you guys. You guys are doing all the typing. Okay, so what types of content should you be putting out there? And value. That's not the only. Excuse me. Value-based content, promotional content, behind the scenes, like what's going on in your business, and also some personal stuff. I'm fine, don't worry. So value, educating people, maybe sharing a story and sharing a business lesson, like Terri, about stress and about like you might share something about like, hey, a client of mine bought this gratitude journal that I recommended or that I wrote, and this is what happened after like 6 weeks. You know, not even 6 weeks, because I know that it doesn't even take that long with a gratitude journal. But you could share. You could just like share, like, you know, this is what happens. This is why journaling, you know, and being gratitude, you know, can't live in the same place as fear. So let's also, like, you know, like write down right now during this pandemic, doubling down on your mindset, you know, and just like putting that value out there. And then there's promotion. So I've got like 4 different types of content, of posts that you'll be putting out there. So one's their value. Number 2 is promotional. You want to also ask people like, hey, book a call with me. Hey, opt into my program. Hey, also, I just started a Facebook group. Come on over here. Hey, I'm over on Instagram. Those are all different types of promotions. But also under promotions, I think, is client success. Client success stories, or just to be able to say like, hey, I ran this group program. Like this is something that I might do. I ran this group program, you know, like how to start your business, and, you know, 50% of the people like who attended, you know, were able to quit their 9 to 5. You know, 2 people were able to, you know, like sign on new clients within the first couple of weeks. Being able to talk about client successes, what sort of successes are your clients getting from your products or services? Like Sophia, like your different clients who are using essential oils. Talene, like some of the testimonials that you get from people who are using who are new to Mary Kay, or just like try a new product. um, behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is fun. One of the things that I've been meaning to do, except I just haven't like asked my husband, is I've been sharing about Facebook Lives and some tips, and I have some other posts that are out there, and I've done like several podcast guest appearances, and I share with them like about Facebook Live, because like right now this is just where business is. It's not, like in-person speaking. But I share with people that I have sticky notes sometimes on my screen. And people are like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. I never thought of that. So that is like a behind the scenes tip. Let me take you behind the scenes of how I write a speech. How I write a speech is I grab a pad of sticky notes and I start writing all the different things that I want to include in that speech. I literally put them on the wall. And from there, I start to rearrange things, the thoughts, the stories, the stats, the ideas. And that's how I take stuff away. But that's a behind the scenes. That's just how I put speeches together. That's one way to put a speech together. I share a bunch of like other ways, like inside In Demand. That's a behind the scenes. Behind the scenes right now is Laurie-Ann is in a sweatshirt because it is kind of cold outside, and it's been a very rainy, cold spring. And yes, I have yoga pants on, or I think these are my Lululemon running pants or something like that. That's a behind the scenes. Like, guess what? I'm dressed casual while I've been at home. It's just what it is. Maybe behind the scenes is also, if you've been following me on Facebook, on Instagram, in my stories, I will tell people like, hey, this is what I'm doing today. I start off with journaling. I'm doing a workout. I'm, client check-ins, finishing touches on crack like content training. I'm making chili for dinner. Like we're ordering out today. Those are like some of those behind the scene things. And then something personal, like kind of like the cooking chili might be a little the same thing as something behind the scenes, so to speak, but something personal, like and that's where with Facebook, you could have certain content that goes out to groups and in your private Facebook group if you have one, and then there's stuff that, hey, like everybody who's friends with me, I'm putting stuff on my personal page. Because I also want Facebook to realize I'm not just about business. I'm also a person. And letting people also see that person in you. Like, hey, here's my family, like cooking dinner. Here we all are, like having happy hour on Zoom, so that I can connect with my family who's states away. To be able to share that sort of information as well. Let's see. So what can I write about if the company is in pre-launch phase? If your company's in pre-launch phase, do you have a date that the launch is going to happen? But you could be making people anticipate like here's something new that's going to be coming up. I've got a big surprise that I'm going to be revealing. You can share stuff like that. You could share, I'm thinking like in Facebook, and you could do this in Twitter. You could do this in Instagram also with your stories by like creating just a question for people. Like, how would you like to have your own, and Nicole, I don't know a whole lot about what you shared yesterday. Like, I don't know all the details, but how would you like to have your own dedicated TV show? How would you like to have your own dedicated TV segment? And I know that there's a lot more to that as well. But you could be talking about like the benefits of that. If you had your own TV segment, what would that do for your business? You know, have you ever wanted to be on TV? You could talk about your experience. You could also talk about like what compelled you to join this particular group. This it's direct sales, I believe. Let's see. Sophia says, yes, I want to use this to do a Facebook Live. I was just going to ask you. Oh, yeah. So this content calendar is not just for the written content. It's also for video, whether you're creating videos. And Sophia, I know that you and I have had discussions, and I've had discussions with other doTERRA reps, because you guys have so many different oils. And because you have so many different oils, you literally could do 2 videos a week on 2 different oils, and there's your content for the next 2 years. And what a video library you will have. Let's see. Sandy says that she uses sticky notes for her Facebook Live also. It's just so helpful. Like, you just don't forget anything. Hey, thought you were still taking care of that gorgeous face. Me? Of course I am. Of course I am. Always. Sophia also says, I've been inspired to post about singing a song live. I did not know that you had, I'm a little jealous you got that kind of a voice. And you should, that's amazing. I'm not, see, because of the delay, now I'm not sure what you're commenting on. This is why we all need to be over in Zoom, but I want people to be able to watch the replay. So what questions do you guys have? This is all how we start creating crack-like content. Just to give you a little synopsis, well, if you guys have any questions, want to type those down below. I'll tell you what we're doing tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the 4 different personalities you need to be writing for. And then also, we're really going to like the anatomy of a post. You know, how do you create that crack-like content? Because it starts right from the very first word. We've got to draw people in. So that's going to be tomorrow. So today's assignment, if you would type in, you know, the same hashtag, CL content, crack to stand for crack like content. Make this as a post in the group. Put day 2 and let me know what your pillars are again and what your subcategories are going to be. And I'm happy to give you guys some feedback. If you have any questions, that's a great place to ask questions also. And what was the other part of that? Oh, and the different types of content that there is. There's value, there's promotional, there's behind the scenes, and there's personal. So as the final part of the assignment, I want you to share one of those. Like, just create, like, here's a value post. Here's a promo post. So what I want to encourage you is don't go with the one that you feel is, oh, this is easy for me. Write the one that's a little challenging, whether that's a behind the scenes, whether that's a promo. Remember, promo is also talking about client successes that you've had, or a promo to like, hey, come follow me over on Instagram. That's where I share a lot of great information. Follow my stories. Check me out on LinkedIn, on Twitter. You know, those are also different forms of promotion. So pick a post, a type of post, and let's share. We're all going to learn about each other, both professionally and personally, and we're going to learn about each other's clients. But this is going to help you start like actually writing, because how do you get better at writing? You actually write. And I hope that makes sense. Let's see. Do you know if there are any copyrights about singing a song publicly? Do you put it in your post? Do you put in your post? A little worried about it. I'm going to Facebook jail. That's a good question. I don't know. I do know this will get you into Facebook and YouTube jail. That if you are using music that you don't have the rights to, that can get you in Facebook or YouTube jail. It's happened to me once on YouTube. I did accidentally use some, I'm going to call it waiting room music before I started a training that I was doing. And I didn't own that, so I did have to take it down. Sandy says Facebook will take it down. So will they take it down? So Sandy, like, she can't even sing somebody else's song, is what you're saying. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I do know that there's a whole lot of internet-based lawyers that are out there. So I guess to bear on the side of caution, it almost sounds like you probably shouldn't be singing somebody else's song. This is a great opportunity for you to start to create your own song. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I realize we went a little over time than I kind of wanted. The train and wanting the trainings to go for about 30 minutes. And I hope that you got a lot out of today's training. Can hardly wait to see what you come up with for your assignments. I'll be so anxious to read them. And you guys all have a great afternoon. And I will talk to you soon. And tomorrow is day 3.